Good day, everyone. Welcome to Time of BFC, where real life issues faced by youths are addressed by youths. I'm Grace.
I'm Chisom.
I'm Samuel.
Yeah. So on time our BFC, we basically talk about real life stories. We try to bring it to ourselves, look at it from the light of the gospel, and then we share our experiences so that we could learn from each other's experiences and then to help us in life. So basically, the story we're looking at today is the story of a teenager that was incarcerated. He was supposed to serve 80 years in jail for a crime he didn't commit. As in, it was a crime of rape, and then the lady was stabbed in the process. So this young man had served about 7 years. So you can imagine a teenager, probably say 18 years, so plus 37. So he should be going about 50 years or thereabouts. So at that stage of his life, that was when a particular group of lawyers picked up his case, and then with DNA they were able to. He was what's the word?
Acquainted.
He was acquainted. Yeah, he was acquainted of the crime. Now, but if you meet this young man, he's so full of life.
Yes.
You will be surprised. Like, how could somebody that has gone through this? How can he be so full of life? Now, I want to ask a question. My question is this: is there a case that is hopeless? Because this man's case seemed hopeless. Is there a case that you say this case is hopeless? Is there a situation somebody will be in and the person is alive and say it's hopeless?
There was something Samuel said about that story, that the man was like, freedom.
Yeah, he made that statement that freedom is not a physical thing; it's of the mind.
Yeah.
So when you are free in your mind, everything just seems to go free.
It just, like, what I wanted to bring up from that is that freedom is truly of the mind. Like, it's what you see about a situation that is really there.
Freedom. No, we're not talking about freedom now. We're talking about hope. Because this young man's story is a story of hope. So we're not, there are so many sides to the man's story.
Definitely.
Now, in his own case now, he was in bondage, and that was what made his case hopeless. Now we're looking at the angle of the hope angle of it. Now, is there a case or a situation you'll be faced in life and you say this situation is a hopeless one?
Yes,
There are many cases.
This is that they say when you have life, you have hope, right? So, how can you say somebody is alive and say a situation is hopeless?
There are people that have been in very, very unimaginable circumstances.
Okay.
And are still they've made their way through, irrespective. Like, I saw one on a WhatsApp platform this week.
Okay.
About a man, he was in the northern region, and he said at first, the first massacre that happened, I don't know what, I think Zaria or a particular part of Nigeria, many years ago, that their church, they were some people were burnt into ashes. That his friend was a pastor in one of the churches. He used this word, roasted. He was roasted in church and all of those things. And he said, when they prayed, God said, "Don't do anything.
Don't fight back.
Don't fight back."
Yeah.
He said he moved it to Jos. He said that was some years later. The same thing happened. And he said he and some other pastors and leaders were convinced that they should still not do anything. And he told them that they were convinced that they should not do anything. He said after a while, some 30 men, a group of 30 men, came to his house to kill him, but they did not meet him at home. The next time they came, they met him at home. No, but that first time, they did unimaginable things to his wife.
Oh, Jesus.
They beat her up, and then she was completely blind.
Oh, God.
And it was by treatment that she was able to recover her sight and everything. So they came again, and they met him. Said they took him there. They said they were not going to kill him outside. They wanted to kill him in his room.
Oh, Jesus.
They took him to the room, and he said they should please let him pray. And said he lay down on the floor and was praying. And the next thing he knew, his wife and his son were beside him, touching him, and they were like, what happened? He woke up and thinking he was in heaven, was like,
Was in
what's going on?
heaven. I can
And they
imagine.
said they've gone.
Mm.
So imagine that kind of predicament. It's just like this one where everything is. It looks like everything is gone.
Everything is gone. Yeah.
Like there is really nothing that you can do.
You can do.
And it's just like even for a typical Nigerian child, when something happened and you know there is no hope, your parents are just going to beat your life out. That day. It
Can
is not
relate.
different from
Yeah.
it, It is still like the same situation because at that point it's like there is no way out. There really is no way out. It's just like when Jesus was there and he said, in that case, it's just like when that child was like, "Mommy, calm down." It just seems like there is no hope at that point.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it has not happened to every one of us here. Like there's just always that time where it looks like, God, this is the end. And most times when it seems like that's the end is where God really comes in.
That's true.
Where we feel that, okay, this is the end. Let me just like when we talked about suicide the other time, we're just like, this is the end of it. I don't think I can go on anymore. God shows up in every of those circumstances. Just like when he said Jesus prayed on that rock, and he said the function of his countenance changed.
It was all proud.
Yes, the fashion of his countenance was altered. You would have seen how much he put into that prayer.
Yeah.
God, I cannot go on. I can't do
Because
it. Let this
he
cup
was like,
pass over
this
me.
one I can't handle.
Exactly.
So the reason why I asked that question is that, this thing that they say, once there is life, there is hope. I think for someone that is alive, anybody's situation can be changed. Even at what's the worst that can happen to someone? The person person is sick.
Or
There could be a
die.
miracle. Anything could happen. There have been cases of people that die, and then the Lord brings them back to life. Now, the reason why I asked that question is you see people that have gone through certain situations, and people that might not have gone through as much, and then they give up hope. But this man pulled through, because if you do the maths, 80 years plus, say maybe about 18 years, he'll be coming out about 90 something years, going 100. What's he supposed to do with his life at 100 years? It's like his life is gone.
He would have died.
He might have died in jail, yes. So technically, this man held on, even though it seemed like as if there was no hope. Even though the situation seemed like as if there was no hope, but he just held on. So what we're trying to say is that there is no situation that is hopeless.
Definitely.
Abi Samuel. There's no situation that is hopeless. Have you ever been in a situation that you felt this situation, like you just feel like, even though you know that there's no situation that is hopeless, but you just feel in your mind like, I can't do this. Like the story of Jesus Christ. Have you ever been in such situations?
Yeah, I was. In my first semester.
Can't hear you.
My first semester in school.
Yeah.
Where I did not really do a subject well. And the next semester, the total
The overall,
what's the name? The overall unit. Yeah, the overall
CGP.
unit. The overall unit.
That's your GP.
Yeah, I carried the course over.
Okay.
And the overall unit was exceeded the one for that particular
For that semester,
That means
okay.
I had to drop one.
Drop one till
to
the
another-
next
to the
year.
next one. So at that point, and when I was asking the Holy Spirit, I was like, God, you know that I cannot do anything. And it was like I should pray. So I looked at our handbook, and in the handbook, it was written that it was 20. You can in my school you can carry 24 units is the maximum you can take
Per semester.
for a semester. So if I added that course, it would be 25 over 24. I have to drop a 1 unit course.
Yeah.
So when I saw the handbook, it was everything, every calculation that I could calculate, everything was amounting to 25.
Yeah.
And
As opposed to
even
24.
the class rep for the previous set and the set that left before us, and it was like that there's nothing that can happen, that's the maximum. And I prayed, and we believe that for before I now went home, they were already saying maybe they would change the course unit and
Okay.
something came up. I was like, God. So when we were on holidays, the person that was the person that was that was in charge of my department, and it was a lady and it was a woman, and she was ready. They had this meeting in the whole department that they wanted to remove some courses and had some courses, and they wanted to change the unit to some courses.
Okay.
We believe that as I was, and it was going. Sometimes they would change it. It will be 25. Sometimes they will change it. It will be 24.
Okay.
So it was like, do I still have God? But I know that that situation where all the maths you have calculated in physically is looking
it's not adding.
It's not adding up, and it's like even your mind is telling you it can never add up.
Yeah.
Because this is something that has been laid from the foundations of the school. So why will it change because of you? And everything happened like that. And even till that time we even resumed.
Yeah.
It was at that last minute that they had to make the final change, and everything rounded off to 24.
Oh.
So when I added my course and everything was 24. It was 24 over 24.
Wow.
So since that time, I know that indeed God breaks protocols, and indeed
He does.
Yeah, and indeed when as far as you are still living, irrespective of how down that situation may be and how hopeless that situation may be, it just takes a word from God and everything will be cleared up. You can imagine what Job
had to go through.
Job is just the perfect example
of a hopeless situation.
Because
but he held on.
The Bible said he had I think seven sons and three, and they were the fairest of them all. That's how he called his daughters. Imagine having the most handsome sons in the whole city, being the richest man, and you will lose everything in the space of 24 hours.
Even his health.
If that one alone is enough to, at this present time, is enough to give you heart attack. And some rich men, some wealthy men, they'll just say, "Oh, this your container capsized," and before you know, heart attack, and they are gone.
Yeah.
But Job just sat down, and instead of him to curse God and do everything, he started cursing everything about himself. But he did not reach that point where he gave up on God.
Yeah.
And that songwriter says that do not give up on God, because He never gives up on us.
Yeah.
And I feel that the psalmist said that He's our very present help.
Yeah, in the time.
He did not say He's our help. He's our help. How do I put it now? He did not say He's our help when it's in our own time. We feel that God should come in a situation when we
want Him to come
we
in.
feel that it is a deadline. We are giving Him it's just like, okay, now they are telling you that the deadline to pay a particular money for maybe your children's school fees is and they're having an exam, and you expect God to come at that moment and say, God, and that might not be His own back, because if maybe from His own ways, if he had given you the money, something will come up, and maybe you backslide, or something will come up.
Sometimes it's just Him trying our faith. Because when I look at the story of the Israelites, let's be very realistic. Why would God tell them to go through the Red Sea? And hey, God had the power to part the sea before they even got there. He didn't take him anything.
Yeah.
He didn't have to he didn't tell them, oh yeah, you guys should fast and pray. They just got there, and then when he was ready, he let the Israelites just stay there and watch the Egyptians watch them. It was like a test of faith. Let me see what you guys are going to do. Sometimes the Lord just puts us through this situation.
You made a statement now. You said when he was ready.
Yeah, when he was ready.
That's what everybody should understand. That if it is his time, he will do something. If it is not his time, he cannot break his own protocols to do something.
Because he has a plan.
Yes, he has a plan, and everything must fall into that plan.
And everything will still favor you at the end of it.
He said that scripture said that I made you hunger, I made you thirst, so that you will know that man does not live by bread alone, but by every
word
word.
that
So if that word does not proceed from the mouth of God, just know that that situation it will still remain the same.
Now, you know one thing. Go ahead.
Okay, so I just feel that everybody, viewers that are watching this, that we should understand that God has His own time,
Yes.
and His own time, it is not. It's I don't know if it can ever tally in this our timeline.
Yeah.
Because we tend to streamline God to our own time zone and our timeline, and our timeline can be in the space of 5. You just got to know about God now, and you are in a situation, and in a space of 1 year you expect everything about your life to be rosy, and He is looking at it, and He is looking at you still need to go through a 10 years training before you get to that particular spot.
Yeah,
you need to get to.
and God's time and our time is not the same, because 1,000 years before us,
It's like a day
before the Lord. So for something that you're like, it's been a while.
Exactly.
Like it just feels
You just started.
Like, where exactly are you coming from? Now, okay, the story of Job is a very touchy one, but it's not in our time. The story of the Israelite crossing the Red Sea, it's another one, but it's not in our time. Now, bringing it down to ourselves, I just remembered an experience I had. Now, that experience was when my husband was sick. So we had tried medical, everything, and then he wasn't responding. So because he wasn't responding, someone suggested, okay, let's try herbs. So we went to try the herbs. And while we were going, we reminded him, I told him, sir, because he's relative, like an in-law, So I told him, sir, my husband is a pastor. He's like a pastor, that kind of a thing. So we can't go to herbalist in case it's a herbalist thing. And then he was like, no, it's just herbs. It's no problem. It's okay, no problem. Just for us to get there and found out that it wasn't herbs. The woman was actually a white garments woman. So at that point, it was like, okay, I and my husband, we needed to make a choice. That situation seemed hopeless because according to that,
she had some incantations and everything.
Yeah, she was like, okay, I'll just need to do this, and of course, you can't go to the devil and come out the way you went. So she was like, okay, that all she needed to do was just give us an oil, and then she'll lay hands on him and everything. And we're like, that's not what we're here for, madam. This is not what we're here for. So, but at that point, the medical diagnosis is saying there's no hope. This thing cannot be solved. So we knew that medically, okay, they are saying it's hopeless. But this man is saying, okay, there is a hope. There's a way out if you go my way. So I and my husband had to sit down. We actually stepped out and we had a discussion. So basically, she told us that we needed to, do whatever it is she wanted us to do. But we had to make a choice. Okay, are we going to stand for God? Because that's where we always find ourselves in such situations in life.
Yep.
When you're faced with a challenging situation,
we
always find ourselves in such situations. Now, the thing is, it's just like the Israelites. It seemed as if there was no way out. It seems like as if these Egyptians are powerful than us. They have the arms, they have the equipment, they have everything. So they knew they didn't stand a chance. But they just had to trust in God. They just had to trust in God. So in that situation, I and my husband were like, we'll trust God. So we left the place. And the people that took us there, they were like, you're very stupid. You're very foolish. Why would you, don't listen to your wife. She's too small. She doesn't understand anything. She doesn't know what it means. And I was looking at him like, I don't understand. If something were to happen to this man, I will be bereaved. So you can't tell me I don't understand. But that was the situation, and then we left the place. Okay, eventually he passed. Now, in this kind of situation where you trusted God, and then he did not turn out to do that thing you trusted him to do. Look at this whole story now. We trusted God that he was going to heal my husband. But unfortunately, he didn't heal him. Now, would you say that God has failed? Because there are times that we hope Against all hope. We hope against everything. We just want to believe God and want to believe that things are going to work out. In times when God chooses not to do anything, will you say it's a hopeless situation?
No.
And the thing happens and then the person dies.
Right.
It's like the whole thing has ended. And then, take for instance the example that Samuel gave. A child is in school, is due to pay his school fees, and then there's no school fees, and then they write exam and they drive the child home. It's like the deadline has come and gone, and God didn't do anything.
I said many times when we were younger, we went through that path. Like many times, I did say, okay, you pay your school fees, so and this, but then they would drive us away from school, and then we'd have to sit at home for a while. And there was a particular time where they sent us home, and there was still no money coming forth. We drank Gary very well, only for us to be called that they begged on our behalf that we should come back to school. But exams had already started, and we had to go to write exams at that time. But then we passed.
You passed.
So it was
wow.
So
upon you missed classes.
Yes. So it was at that point that it really, really became obvious that these children are not the children we think they are. They are very intelligent.
You forgot one time where we got to school and Daddy had not brought the money. I don't know if you remember. And they were calling and saying that I think we went to look for it. He did not get the money at that time. So when we got to school, we believe that the printer that was to print out the exam question did not work until we got there.
Wow.
The printer did not work until we got there. So I just want to back down. Just continue.
Okay, so many times we even went through it to the extent that there was a time where Samuel and I would go under the tree because Daddy told us of a story of some missionaries that needed money and rain of money fell down from heaven. We would go under the big tree in the house. I said, God, let money fall.
Let money fall like rain.
But then it's funny now. Well, it
wasn't
so
funny.
Then.
I can imagine.
There was a time where I even borrowed money in school, and I was in SS3 then, and I borrowed money, and I told my friend I was going to return when my daddy if my dad should visit then. That was how my daddy came, and then he brought only Gary inside nylon and said that he didn't have enough money. Like he didn't have any money.
That's all he
The only money he had
that time
was what he was going to use for transport back home. So the girl I was owing, apparently, I wouldn't have been able to pay. So I was so vexed and so fed up and so sad. I did not escort him to the gates. Someone was the one that escorted him to the gate. I couldn't. I went back to the hostel to cry. There are those situations that you'd be like, God, are you really still there?
Yeah,
and I just feel that we should, whenever we are coming to God, let's be sincere, right? Okay. Because when you made a statement that as God failed and all those things, at that time it will look like God has failed. See, come to God and cry and tell Him that God, I expected you to do. Paul, I just feel that whenever we are talking to God, let's talk to Him like somebody that, because if I want to talk to my dad, I'm not going to write an official mail.
Yes.
Neither am I going to say, neither am I going to pass through one process, meet once again. And it's like religion has so much put God in one official space. One is that you now need to pass through processes and you need to use some words just because, and He is looking for ways to bridge those gaps to become so close to us.
Yeah.
So let's come to Him like children will come. A child will never tell you he's not hungry when he's hungry.
Yes.
You say, Mommy, I'm hungry. That's how we should.
He says it as it is.
Mommy, I'm hungry and I've not eaten since morning. Let's come to Him and say, Daddy, I what happened? I kept my hope in this thing. Why did it fail?
Why did
not,
it fail?
Yeah, not that you will not say, oh, God, I give you all the glory. When deep down, you know you are crying.
You know your heart.
And he knows you are not sincere.
Yeah.
So, but to be honest, this period has really taught me sincerity with God. If it's to cry at that moment, cry. If it's to shout. When you sleep and wake up, when in his own time he'll give you the answers to your questions. And there's this thing the Holy Spirit was saying. It said it through somebody, but he gave me a better interpretation that we should not. How do I put it now? You know, there's this song that says, "Unquestionable, you are the Lord," and that thing, in its own sense, it's kind of an error, right? It's kind of an error because
in particular angle.
Exactly, it puts God in one kind of bossy and one kind of ogbang. You know, I don't
unapproachable.
Exactly, and in this kind of realm that and he makes the statement that Moses was my friend, right? That Moses was, and there's nothing Moses. No, he said Abraham was my friend, but it was Abraham he called his friend. You know, God will be going and said, "Can I do anything without telling Abraham?"
Yeah.
Will you now say that to Abraham, God was unquestionable?
No, of course, Abraham questioned God.
He said, God, if they were five, they were this thing.
Yeah.
He said, if he had continued, maybe he just thought he was already asking God too much questions. You understand that kind of thing? Mm-hmm. So, as a friend, you are my friend, and this thing, I can never tell you are talking too much, or I can never tell you I cannot come to. You know, there are some times where you will be so close to a friend, no matter how late it is at night, you can still run to the person's this thing.
This doesn't finish.
Exactly, and the person will still open. Even though the person is really tired, the person will still wait. That's how God is.
Yeah.
Let's go to him like a friend. Let's go to him like a child to his father.
Yeah.
You know, so free, so sincere. Tell him, God, this thing did not work out the way I set it out to work out. God, why did it not work out this way? I had put all my hope, and you saw that this was the last thing. Why do you have to do this? He might not give you that answer at that time, but surely the answer will come.
You know, I can relate with what you're saying, because after my husband passed, it was like, I'm not the kind of person that when I worship, I just throw my hands up and I cry and I'm just open. I can roll on the floor, that kind of thing. But when he passed, I can sing all the worship songs we sing in this world. It's not crossing my head, because each time I open my mouth to sing, the devil just keeps telling me that, is God really faithful? If he was faithful, why didn't he save him? You stood like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You were able to, you had decided, God saved them. It's like God,
but they
stood for
the Lord. But they made that statement.
That they were going to die.
Yes.
He said, even though
now God doesn't save us,
we will still.
Now that's the thing. So, sometimes we come to that point where we feel like, because I made that decision, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, God will save me.
But then he did not save Stephen too.
He didn't save a whole lot of us.
And Stephen was stoned to death.
And that was his own part. That was part of God's will.
Exactly.
So
the thing now is, the issue now is, we are not in control of these activities.
Yes.
God is in control. Now the issue that we are dealing with is the aftermath. After it has happened, like for me now, after it has happened, you can't take it back. It has happened. So what now? So it's like there's a lot of thoughts going on in your head. Is God still faithful? Does God still heal? Does he still answer prayers? Is he still who he says he is? Is it this? Is it? I know the devil makes it to look like as if he has not done anything else.
Most times that's the reason why many people say that they become atheists.
Exactly.
Because there was this, there are true life stories of some atheists. They would be like, they were like, when I was small, my mom had cancer, and I told God, if you will rescue me, Mom, I'm going to serve you to the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And he did not serve him. That means there is no God. But most of them know that there is some. It's not like you cannot just wake up one morning and say there is no God.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point in time you kept all your hope on him, and to you he failed you. That's why many people will just believe that since if I can work so hard and everything I can work so hard, yeah, so that means I don't really need this God.
So basically, for me, that at that time it was like, God help me. God help me. Because I know I needed to get, let me put it like this, I needed to get my groove back. I needed to get my worship on. I needed to get back. I needed to come back to, the way I worship the Lord. And that day, it was like
Heart of worship.
yeah, to come back to the house of worship. It was like that day the Lord gave me this understanding that you worship God not because of what He gives you. You worship God not because of what He has done for you. You worship God because He is God. Because He is faithful. Because even if not for you, for every other person. And remember, everything worked together for good for those that love God. So for me, that was it. For me, that was it. I came to the understanding that whether the Lord saved my husband or not, whether the Lord has done anything for me or not, the fact that I'm alive is enough reason for me to worship Him. He is God all by Himself. He's not living for us. We are living for Him. You understand? So for me, that was it. Going to the Lord and just like a child and telling Him exactly how you feel. It really did work for me. So tell me, have you ever, like when you find yourself in such situations, what worked for you?
There's this song that Domwen sang
Yeah.
many years ago. I think the song was sung in 1998. But then growing up, I was always listening to his songs. And this song says, Lord, you seem so far away. A million miles it seems today. Though I have not lost my faith, I must confess right now that it's hard for me to pray.
Yeah, I know the song.
Yes. So anytime it's so bad, I just go back to that song. It just comes into my heart. And once I sing it, I feel better.
Yeah.
It's not about how, sometimes I notice that whenever something is going on and I imagine that it's going to go on in a way and everything, because I God just tell me, okay, that's not how it's going.
Yeah,
and it's just going a different way. So it doesn't always have to go the way we want.
Yeah.
There's this movie, I believe, it's the true life story of a gospel artist, Jeremy Camp.
Okay.
Apparently, when he went into college, he met a girl, and he met her during a worship concert. Fell in love with her, and all of a sudden, he found out that she was like a person living with cancer, and the doctor just told him then that there was no hope.
Yeah.
And told his parents that I was going to get married to her, irrespective. Because that day she just told him that God laid it in my heart that I should pray for you, that I should bless your wife. And funny enough, he just said, he just went to his parents, told them, they're like, are you sure? You're still young, you still have your whole life ahead of you. Are you sure you want to do this now? He said yes. And funny enough, they got married. He went into different broadcasting stations, told them to pray for his wife. People sent cards of prayers, of everything, and they were so sure. God healed her. There was a day she was in the hospital and she said, I'm healed. And they ran tests and all of it, and they found out that she was healed.
Wow.
But when they got married, I think some days into their marriage.
Was she healed before the wedding or after the wedding?
She was healed before the wedding.
Wow.
Before the wedding, after he already asked her to marry him. She was healed, they got married, and they went on a vacation. All of a sudden, the symptoms came back. And she went to the hospital and she told him that, they held each other, and the guy was so distraught. He had so much faith that God was going to heal her. Yeah. Who was seeing the movie, had so much faith that God was going to heal her. When she died, because she eventually died, she told him that she was going to pass. When she died, because she told him something even when it started. She said, even if I'm going through this, even if I die, if my story can bless just one person, I'll be happy to go through this for that. And she died. I thought she was going to come out of the casket. When she was buried, I thought So God will just tell him that my
No,
son,
I
go
can
to the
relate.
grave, like go to
I can
the
relate.
cemetery and dig it up. She's going to come back to life. I cried. I cried so much because I couldn't even imagine what he was going through.
Yeah.
You know, he went back home. Somebody that had faith, that people had prayed for him, and he broke his guitar because he was always playing guitar. He broke it, and while he was breaking the guitar, a paper fell off, and she wrote there that she knew that something like that was going to happen, and that one day he was going to see it inside the guitar. And she told him that she knew that she was going to pass, and all of this. She encouraged him, and he went back into his music and everything. So there was one big concert he went for, and he met a lady. And she said, I've met you before, you and your wife. And she told him the story, and that she was the one that was blessed by the story.
Yeah.
And that's how everything went on. They got married, they gave birth to children, but every year they always refer to that's her story.
Yeah.
And you know, everything, like, I just saw how God can be. You might be going through a situation for somebody.
No, but most of the time you are going to, because I could relate myself. Now, how disoriented I was when my husband passed. I stayed with him for 3 hours. After he passed. I was just praying all the prayers I knew how to pray. But for me, I felt God was going to restore him. So for me, it was like my faith, my hope was like, it came crashing down in my very eyes. You know, but the story there is that you bounced back. You know, the story there is that, you know, after all the pain and after everything, you still went back to the Lord. Because as you said, you're going through it for someone else. Because someone else will hear. And the person will be like, if this person can't go through it, if that person can go through it, then why can't I? You know, we go through, you know, for me, listening to the story of Job, reading his story over and over, that period was a source of hope for me. You know, knowing that, okay, Job went through worse things than I've ever imagined. You know, but he still held on to the Lord. So at that point, when you are faced with these situations, it's like this. You know, the Lord has brought you to a point. He wants to know what's in your heart. Do you trust him because of what he does for you? Or do you trust him because he's God? That's